of every particular product, where do I want to play? Do I want to play from the beginning till the end? Like in our own business, the value chain starts from even the grandparent stock. For a poultry, the grandparent stock, that's the big birds that lay the eggs for the parent stock. So when you go from grandparent stock, you go to parent stock. From parent stock, you go to commercial birds. Before commercial birds, you have archery. You have the archery. After archery, you have commercial birds. You go to commercial birds, and then you go to processing and rest of them. So you have to ask yourself, which area do I want to play? And when it comes to Agric, you must play in the area where there is the greatest need. Business exists to solve the needs of society. If you do what you like, I'll be honest with you, I'm not a fan of agribusiness. I'm in it for what we can get, what value we can create. So it's not I won't say it's my passion, but I've developed passion in it over time. Once that it wasn't my passion. My passion has only been automobiles, engineering, technology, and the rest of them. But while doing this thing, I've developed some level of passion in it. I'm in it for the returns. But before you get the returns, you must provide service. You must provide value. Then our returns will come when you have provided value and service. So you must be able to exploit every opportunity in that value chain so that you can get the maximum out of it. Because like in Nigeria today, the challenge of agriculture in Nigeria is not actually cultivation. I once traveled up north, and I did my youth service in Kaduna State. And a while ago, some years back, I had to travel to Benue State. And I couldn't just imagine the volume of fruits I saw all the way in Benue State. Fruits just littering the ground. And I asked myself, why can't somebody process these fruits? Why can't we turn it into concentrates and begin to export or even use it locally? Why do we still have to import concentrates in Nigeria? And so our problem is not cultivation, and I stand to be corrected. There are lots of cultivation going on in Nigeria. But the question is that, is our cultivation efficient? Ask me what is the biggest problem in agriculture. I tell them it is knowledge. Knowledge is the #1 problem. And if I rate it the problems of agriculture, I will put 85% knowledge gap. A lot of us in the business do not have sufficient knowledge in agriculture. And I'll give you an example. I've been on our 40-acre land for the last 7 years since we acquired that land. And that land I continue to follow. We only use about 13 acres out of that land. And every time the land continues to follow. And I don't plant anything on that land. Maybe I give it to our staff to plant. Imagine if I had planted cashew nuts on that land, or planted soybeans year in, year out, I would have gotten maximum value from it. So a lot of our land in Nigeria are fallow. Even the ones we cultivate, we are not using the right practices, the right measures to cultivate. And that knowledge gap is not limited to individuals. You recall some years back, because the government did lake rice, and I don't know whether lake rice is still available. And when they did lake rice, what did they do? They brought the mills to Lagos, and they were bringing paddy from Kebbi State. And everybody would have thought, fantastic, rice will be available. You will agree with me, that rice vanished. Why? They were just transporting waste. Because if you if you process rice, 33% of it is waste, which is a rice husk. And so if you spend funds to bring 33% of waste into Lagos and place Lagos, what do you do with those waste? Nothing. So I'm sure they had to, after operating for some few months thereabout, they saw that it wasn't sustainable. And so you would expect that if government wants to do something of that nature, they should get the best expert. And it beats us to find out that these things were not done the proper way. So knowledge gap is not only in the part of individuals, it's also in the part of government and everybody that's involved in agriculture. And let me be very frank with you. that we will never get to sustainable food security for Nigeria if we do not change our practices. One of the practices we need to change, very importantly, is to begin to educate farmers on the right seedlings to plant, the right way to plant. Somebody asked me some months ago, does onions grow in the south here? And I laughed, because we plant onions, even though we've yet to have our first harvest, but we've seen the growth already. And it's possible for things to grow anywhere. But the question you now ask yourself, do I plant everything? No. Do I cultivate everything? No. What we should be doing as per agriculture in this country is to look at locations of comparative advantage. If South is good to plant bananas and the rest of them, let's do it there. While in the West, we'll plant cassava, in the North, we'll do sorghum and the rest of them. We need not plant everything, because the soil texture, the soil nutrient is different from each other. And I'll give you my own practical example. I have a piece of land just very close in front of the farmhouse and in front of the feed mill around our farm. And we've tried to plant things there year in, year out, and we've not had a success. But so what we did was, a portion of that land, we now planted soybeans. And despite the fact that we didn't take care of soybeans very well, the soybeans came out very, very well, and the yield was okay. Why did soybeans come out very well on that land? In that land lacked nitrogen. This land was no longer fertile. And so what does soybeans do? Soybean fixes nitrogen in the soil. It replenishes the soil nutrient. And so soybeans could thrive on it, but corn would never thrive on it. Vegetable would not thrive on it. And so if every state considers what is most important to that state, we will now say, okay, look, in Zamfara, this is what we should plant. In Kebbi, this is what we should do. In this particular state, this is what we should do. And those are the opportunities in agriculture that we must be able to harness. Because if we look at comparative advantage of each state or each location after another, then we can de-risk appropriately. We can invest into research within this particular location. Take, for instance, you're talking about, let's say in Ibadan, we are just doing maize, just for example. And UI has a research center that can talk about maize, I can look into maize. You find out that you can develop better varieties of maize, because one of the problems also to agriculture in Nigeria, which is still around knowledge gap, is the yield. Today we plant cassava in Nigeria, and cassava, we are likely to produce cassava in the whole of the world. Yet we get little value from cassava. And from cassava, we can get more than 30 products from cassava. Yet we have not explored that particular crop to the maximum. When I got to this community where we are located, they say, you don't put money on cassava, which is a myth. Why would you not put money on cassava? It's for you to find the appropriate kind of manure you need to put on cassava, as it were. And so what they get in that location, 13 tons or 10 tons per hectare. Whereas in places where these things are planted very well and done very well, they get as much as 40 tons per hectare. The same thing with rice, the same thing with maize, soya beans, and the rest of them. The yield per hectare for these products in Nigeria is low because there is a big knowledge gap. Funding, big problem, but not comparable to knowledge. Poor infrastructure, a challenge, but not comparable to knowledge. These problems that we have outlined create opportunities for us to solve. I know of a company somewhere very close to us there. What they do is just logistics. They help farmers to bring their products to town. So they have looked at the risk. I don't want to go into poultry. I don't want to go into farming, but I can play a part. There is a problem of transportation. There is a problem of logistics. How can I solve this problem? And so if you are trying to venture to agriculture, you must understand the need in the market. During the pandemic, one of the things that happened was that there was lockdown and many people could not move. And because farmers were used to selling their eggs at farm gate, let me tell you, from day one when we started Mayor Farm, we didn't plan to sell our egg at farm gate. Maybe we come from a marketing background from the banks. And so, you're always looking for deposits. So we're looking for customers. So when we started our first pen of 5,000, we went out to look for the customer. We didn't allow the customers to come to us. And that method has really helped us. One of the reasons why it has helped us, number one, when middlemen go from farm to farm, because egg is perishable, when they go from one farm to the other buying eggs, they buy at their own price. You have produced egg and your egg is perishable. I want to buy at 800 naira per crate. You say your own is 900 naira per crate because you produce your egg very well. You say, this is what I'm buying. And if he or she goes, your egg stays there. You need funds to recycle back in the business. So they buy it. And as they move from one farm to the other, what happens? They transfer diseases from one farm to the other. And so you are not immune from all these diseases. So for what we've done in our own farm, also there's also the issue of theft. Because you might not be on the farm, as a farm manager, might not be on the farm all through the year. So your farm manager is there, your supervisor is there, so they can play fast ones on you. So what we've done is that we've invested into logistics and said, okay, look, we'll move these eggs to where the customers are, where our customers are. And so we give the customers those products, and we also give credit to it. And when to give credit, people said, you will lose your money. But I'm coming from a background of credit, and we understand how credit works. If you can manage your credit effectively, because the value chain of egg distribution is actually credit. The middleman that brings the egg, goes around the farm to bring the eggs, actually sells on credit. And after 1 week, they pay back, and then they get the next supply. So we adopted that method in growing our business. And so within a space of 6 months, 5,000 crates, about 5,000 beds laying for us, we couldn't meet the demand. We expanded again by another 7,000 beds until we got about 40,000 beds. And so what you realize is that when you come into agribusiness, you have to look at where is the need? Where is the need? Where is the need? How can I solve the problem? The problem can be storage, the problem can be transportation, the problem can be distribution, the problem can be anything. It could even be you that you have gone to study and you want to provide education to farmers and make them pay in a certain way. So one of the things I always encourage people to do is to spend time and find out the need in the business. The need determines what you do. It creates opportunities. When you see the need, opportunities are there in those needs. You see the risk there. How do I de-risk it? How do I mitigate this risk? And that solves our problem. Thank you. So I think I'm done. So I think there are questions for me to answer.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Yemi Ogundein. This has been an interesting part, and I want to let all our participants, all those who have joined us, to know that this is the first in a two-part conversation with Mr. Yemi Ogundein, a businessman and agropreneur. Thank you very much. There are questions already, but there are learning points that I quickly want to mention before we go on. You talk about knowledge, the knowledge gap that is involved in this business. There are challenges with infrastructure, challenges with finance, but you put everything down to knowledge and the need for you to know, the agri value chain and where you want to play and where you want to maximize opportunities and minimize risk. Thank you very much, Mr. Yemi Ogundein. There are questions already, and thank you very much. Someone said, Omolala Odusi is asking, how do we know what will grow well on certain lands? Do we keep experimenting until we get it right? Could we nurture the soil and plant whatever we need or desire? That is for Momolola Otunse. Thank you for the question. And then from Touchstone TV, what have you done concerning the transfer of disease from one farm to another? All right. There's also Ebenezer Babayemi asking, what advice do you have for greenhorns wanting to delve into the business of agriculture? And then Oluwatosin Oluyemi, I hope you are noting that, and I'm going to stop that now so that you can. Thank you for sharing your experience, Oluwatosin Oluyemi. Could you share some specific experience you have with food processing, especially the issue of electricity? So, Mr. Yemi Ogundein, these are a couple of questions for you. I'm sure there will be other interventions. Please keep the questions coming. Thank you.
Okay, one of the things, okay, let me answer the first question. How do you know what to grow well on certain lands? Do we keep experimenting until we get it right? The first thing I've said you need to do is need nearness to market, and also to those two things are the first things you need to answer. What I want to plant, does that environment need it, or where is it needed? That is the first thing you need to do. I always, when people come to meet me, I want to start poultry, I want to start selling egg first, because everything comes down to marketing. Because the truth is that our distribution channels are very poor in Nigeria, so you need to know what that market entails. So before you even say you want to start to grow, first thing you need to know is that, is there a need for the things I want to grow? Because if you grow those things and there's no need for it, you will consume it yourself. So the first thing is that, does this market need what I want to grow? That's the first thing. Number two is that for you to know what is good for particular soil, you need to do a soil test. And it's not very expensive. And that is where we talk about knowledge too. A soil test will tell you what will grow well on this particular soil. So soil test is very important. Yeah. So could we nurture the soil and plant whatever we need or desire? It's not about you. It's about what you desire. It's what the market wants. I've said it before. It is what market wants that you plant, not what you like to plant. I love mango very much. I want to plant mango. No. What the market needs is what you plant. And always know that, look, how do I get my products to the market? So you can nurture the soil. There are various ways of nurturing the soil. Like, let me give you an example. Like for us, we produce about 5 tons of waste every day. That's poultry waste. And it's a problem for most poultry farms. Even though many of us are getting solutions to those problems now, and we are trying to remove water from that particular waste and sell the dry matter, as it were. So the first thing is that, what does that soil lack? Does it lack nitrogen? Does it lack phosphorus? Does it lack potassium? Or does it lack urea? Whatever it lacks, you can supplement it by putting inorganic fertilizers. But because everybody's talking about organic now, so you can also supplement it by using organic fertilizers, which is poultry dung, animal waste, and the rest of them. But those ones takes time before you get the results. So if you want to use animal waste as supplement for the soil, you will have to put those waste on the ground for quite some time, 6 months or plus, and continue to till the ground so that you can replenish that land before you start to plant. But where you have planted and you discover that there is a deficiency, you can use organic fertilizers to boost the soil and ensure that you do it in the right way. There's a right way to apply fertilizers. Yeah. What have you done concerning transfer of disease from farm to farm? One of the things every farm does, poultry farm, takes very important, is biosecurity. Biosecurity. Ability you are entering the farm, your hands and your feet must be disinfected. Usually, we recommend that you wear the farm clothing and you put off your own clothes, but this is not done in practice. I'll be sincere with you. It's not done in practice. But at least your hands, because as you move from one farm to another, you carry disease, you carry pathogens. So wash your hands very well. Your feet that has packed sand. And so if you are driving too, the car is also is disinfected before you enter into the farm. And the farm is not a tourist center. So if you don't have any business on the farm, there is no reason coming to the farm. So we keep people away from the farm as much as possible. It's only when you have a business on the farm that you come to the farm. So you can control disease by limiting flow of traffic from one farm to another, aside just keeping biosecurity. What advice do you have for grain owners wanting to delve into agribusiness? The advice I have is for you to look at the opportunities. Where are the needs? Where are the opportunities? How do I exploit? And I always advise, if you are going into agriculture, start from services first. Render a service within that value chain before you go to full-scale production. Production is quite expensive, it's quite extensive. It requires a lot of knowledge gathering. So I advise you to start from the, when you want to enter into a big river, and agriculture is a big river, they are flowing, and many people are flown in that river and they are destroyed them. So don't enter with all your body and jump into it, because you've just followed the whole pack. Go with just a toe into it first. Stay on the peripheral, understand it, do services, provide logistics, buy from the farmer, sell, process, or do some things that do not require you to put in capital investment. But when you talk about production, talk about land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship, and the rest of them, which are a whole gamut of things. So start from the peripherals and understand the business. Yeah, could you share some specific experience you have in food processing, especially the issue of electricity? Yes. Wow, electricity is a big one for us. Like on a monthly basis, we spend between about 800 to $1 million to fuel our generator. We don't have power where we are. So what we've devised over the years is to be able to run efficiently. So we have a feed mill, we have cold rooms, we have processing plant for chicken, we have our beds. They use lights because for a bed to lay egg, it requires 16 hours of continuous daylight. So and you have probably 12 hours of daylight or even 10 hours. So what you need to do is to augment the remaining 4 or 5 hours or 6 hours with electricity. If you don't do that, you will lose at least between 10 to 20% of your daily production for egg. The same thing for broilers. For broilers to grow within the required time, they need daylight. So you have to put on light at night. So what we've done to maximize that is to ensure that we are doing 2, 3, 4, 5 things at the same time. So what we've done is to have 2 generators on our farm. We have an 80 kVA that when you put 80 kVA on, you are milling feed, you are processing chicken, the cold room is on. So everything is going on at that point. So when it comes to the evening, maybe from 7 till 10 p.m., you now put on the 30 kVA that we have. And that one pumps water, because we use about 40,000 liters of water every day. Pumps water, provides lighting for the beds. By 10 o'clock, that one goes off. You put on a small petrol generator that runs between 10 midnight and 4 a.m. before the big generator comes on again. So we spend quite a lot. But what we've done, one of the things, and I would say information is very key. We got information that there are companies that can provide alternative power to our solar. And we're discussing with the partner company, and we hope to tie that up within another 2-3 months to be able to provide us alternative power. We'll run completely on solar, and then we'll pay them service charge for that. So that's how we could. So electricity is very important. You need to plan it into your cost. It's not an impediment that you should not produce, but you plan it your cost and see whether you can still make margins on it. Kindly explain briefly how the prevailing security challenges are being managed at your end and your advice. Thank you. This security challenge of herdsmen and rest of them, we are quite lucky that we don't have the menace of herdsmen, even though we have a few ones around us. One of the things we've done, we've been able to incorporate some of them into our own operations. Like, for instance, we have about 8 Fulani guys that we engage. We have 5 of them as security guys that work for us, and about 3 of them, about another 4, everything 9, 4 that work for us to plant our onions. So imagine if people carrying cows are coming, they will tell them to go back now. Don't spoil my business because I'm not paying them every month. I'm paying them based on harvest. So if the cattle destroy the onions, they have lost their money. So that has helped us in that regard. But the truth is that everybody will try to mitigate the risk. There are risks involved in planting, especially up north and some areas these days. There are crops you can plant that will keep cattle away. You can fence, you can do a lot of things, but I'm not experienced food, and so I can't give all the advice I should be. So one of my friends that has a poison plant somewhere in Kogi State had to fence the whole place round so that cattle will not come into his poison plants and destroy what he's doing. So there are a lot of things you can do regarding that. But I think that for us to be able to get around this issue of herdsmen and rest of them, we have to do it the right way. And I think we have to. There is no reason why we should continue to keep cattle moving from one location to the other. Yes, the advantage is that you have lean meat, but the truth is that cattle rearing is a business that thrives on milk. Just like chicken. When you rear chicken, the chicken we rear, as it were, gives us egg. The main value we get from that chicken is the egg. When the chicken is spent, we sell the chicken off at a giveaway price, and then we replenish back that stock. So the truth is that the value from cattle rearing should actually be milk. And if they're not getting milk, they're not being profitable. But because they cannot put costs together, they don't know whether they are profitable or not. How do you rear a cattle, or a cow, or whatever you call it, for 2 years, and all you get is what? Only the meat? It's not valuable. So if you put it down to number, which is one of the things we do in Mayor Farm, accounting is very important in our process. Everything is put down into naira and kobo, because at the end of the day, we must be profitable. So I think we need to look at that in that respect and make sure that cattle rearing is profitable.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Ogundein. I have another question for you from Dr. Lawrence Omeokperia. So this is a wonderful lecture. I'm very amazed with your level of understanding of agriculture and agro-entrepreneurship. No one will ever believe that you're an engineer. God bless you and increase your knowledge more. I will come to learn from you when I visit your farm. All right? And, get to know something, wonderful. Well, that's a commendation. Now, I'm sure there are other questions, and, there might be one or two interventions. But you have not spoken. I know your experience in terms of finance. You talked a lot about knowledge gap. Can you talk a little bit, because you have a background in finance? Agric used to be a no-go area for bankers in terms of financing agriculture. Many years ago, they would rather pay CBN fine than, finance agriculture. Has that tremendously changed? What's the access to? What's been your experience with access to finance? Thank you.
Okay, that has not changed very much, and even though there seems to be a lot of changes, and despite our own understanding of finance, we've also suffered in this regards over the years. And one of the things I always tell people, Agric is long term, and I'll give you one of the reasons why it's long term. For you to acquire land might be cheap, but for you to prepare land for agriculture is far more expensive than the acquisition. When you acquire land, you prepare land, those costs are capital costs. Those capital costs, that land is going to be there for the next 40, 50 years. So if you are taking a loan from a bank, or you borrow money from friends and family, and you are member to pay back in 2 or 3 years' time, it's a recipe for failure. Because that cost of land acquisition and preparation, either for cultivation or for poultry or for anything, should be amortized over the next 10 years so that you can recoup at least the minimum. So despite the intervention, we thank God for CBN and their interventions, but we've not gotten this yet right. Because if I have a and I need a long period for 10 years. However, I've amortized it over just 3 years, of which I'm meant to pay back the loan. As a matter of fact, we are paying back that loan in 6th or the 7th month, the principal. You have not gotten anything yet. So it becomes difficult. So banks still need to understand agriculture more and understand that, okay, look, capital cost is important and more amortized over a long period. But most importantly, is working capital. You must understand the working capital for cassava is not the same thing for maize. It's not the same thing for poultry. It's not the same thing for people who are keeping parent stocks of birds. So understanding of the business is very key for financial players, but it's getting better, but it's not yet, we're not yet there. So funding is critical, and that's why I always advise people coming to the business newly, stay on the peripheral, understand it, play with the services before you now go deep into production, so that you do not fall into the challenge of funding adequacy. Because when you are in it, you can't go back. I'll give you a practical example. In 2017, we kept a stock of about 30 to 40,000 beds. And lo and behold, the price of maize went up 3-folds within the space of 1 month. What it means is that if I was able to use 5 million to feed my birds in 5 days, what it meant is that I would need 15 million rather, to feed those birds in the same 5 days. What do you do in that instance? You can pray, and we've learned to pray by God's grace, but you need to do something much more than that. So if you run to the bank and say, look, give us additional funding, this is what has happened. And the banks didn't answer. So what do you have to do? You have to survive. So it's either you go borrowing money or you reduce your flock. So it's as simple as that. And that's how financing is quite very important. And you must be vast. And that is why I always challenge farmers. You know, in 2019, we got an award from the London Stock Exchange Group, naming our business as one of the companies to inspire Africa in 2019. And it wasn't just because we are into Agric. It was because a combination of all these things we did, especially when it came to issue of financial records. How do you keep your records? Are you audited? Do you keep financial records, or you just do it for subsistence? So from day one of Mayor Farms, we have kept our audited accounts day to day. We have Goldwins as our auditors, and they come every year to do our audit. And that audit shows the reflection of our business, whether we are making profit or whether we are making losses. And it tells us what to do the next year. So it's important. And if you want to assess finance, you must have such records. If you don't have financial records that are reliable, you can't assess finance. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Mr. Lawansin has put up his hand to intervene. Please unmute, and then let's have your intervention. Also, there is also a question here in the chat room that if you have access to finance, will you invest more in this sector? If yes, in what area? How big do you think agribusiness will grow in the next 5 years, and how big do you plan to grow your agribusiness company? You can hold on to that question, and you can answer that after Mr. Kennedy Allowance's intervention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, host. That is Tulejo. Thank you very much. I have 2 questions and perhaps a comment.
Okay,
just before the program started, I tried to send a video to Mr. Ogundein. I actually sent to his chairman, that's Mr. Bodioki. And the video was on a farm where people were caught, a poultry farm, where people were caught stealing eggs. You understand? So what what is the damage that the absence of integrity and honesty does to agriculture in Nigeria, particularly across the board, yes, particularly where the farmer may not be fully present? I don't know whether you got my question.
I get your question, sir.
Okay. So I'd like to know what is the damage that the absolute lack of integrity of the workforce, what damage they do to agriculture in Nigeria, and how do you select your workforce, or what are the things that you put in place to ensure that you are not vulnerable, you don't fall victim to what the Bible calls, there's a name the Bible calls them, that would destroy investment. That's one. Number two, in the course of your presentation, you talked about opportunities that came up as the business was growing, opportunity that informed your investing in those opportunities. Like, for instance, you talked about the offers, how do you want to distribute the offer that led to your setting up a fishery business. I hope I'm right. So,
yes, sir.
So, and I asked myself, I said, look, Agric is a value chain. And one of the problems of Nigerian farmers is that they want to mine all the value chain instead of giving it to some other people to handle. So it then removes their focus entirely from where they have a core competence. They spread themselves very thin, that their core businesses start suffering. Okay, you are into poultry, you want to go into abattoir, and you start packaging bird for meat, you start going to fishery, as you are studying like that, you really don't have all these competence and the skills to manage every business that is on that value chain. But they all attempt to do that, and that damages their business. So those are my two first comments and questions.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much. I'll start with that video first. I've seen that video is gone viral, even though I have my reservations as to an infringement on the rights of those persons. But for steps does considerable damage to the integrity of our agribusiness, and it occurs everywhere. If I tell you that I've not had theft on the farm, it's a big lie. We've had various levels of theft, either birds or egg or materials or the rest of them. But one of the things every farmer needs to do is to put in place control. You cannot do farming in absentia, no matter how big you are. The first day we took birds, I slept in the same pen with the birds, learned everything. And many times I've gone to the farm, I've spent days on the farm myself. There's no week I don't go to the farm except one of us, either myself or Ahmed, go to the farm. We must be on the farm. And as per integrity, you continue to hire and fire until you get the right person. You select, you watch, you try. One of the other things that why it's difficult for in our own case to have such level of dishonesty, and is that every day there is, by now I know what I should expect from every pen. I know the number of beds in that pen. I know the percentage I should expect. I know how many bags of feed they should consume. I know the output. And so when I don't get that numbers, I start asking questions. If that number persists for days, I'm on the farm on one of the days, I stay from morning till evening, I'll see the process and I ensure that, okay, look, there is no theft. Then we start looking at, okay, what could be the problem? Could it be the quality of our maize? Could it be the quality of our soya? Could it be the water? Could it be anything? Because those birds will not talk. And so this dishonesty should keep the farmer on his toes and know that, okay, look, there is no room for you to do big man and say, okay, I'm the owner of this farm, I own this balance sheet. I said, no, because day by day, 10 crates today, 2 crates today. I give you a practical example. We grade our eggs into big, medium, and small. And so when you load the bus, when we load our bus take about 700 to 750 crates, and we go distribute in a particular location for our distributors. I expect that they will write an invoice for each of the customers. And so this is the customer. So before, we were not taking the stock of big and small, so I would expect the invoice to come back. And so I started seeing the figures I was expecting from this particular stock based on production was different from what was on sales. So what did we discover? We found out that the drivers were changing small to medium. They are changing medium to small, big to medium. So what did we do? So, okay, look, when you are loading, and the farm manager or supervisor that is loading, give me the quantity of medium you have loaded, the quantity of small you have loaded, quantity of this, and this is what I expect. Driver, when you come back, this is what even though they will not collect cash, but your invoice should tally with this. And there are many ways people steal. So people continue to steal is for you to be able to find a way to mitigate it, to manage it, and reduce it to the barest minimum. So it puts a lot of damage on that, but you never get tired. And they steal in every business. They steal in the banks, they steal everywhere. So you'll have to find a way to manage it and reduce your losses. Now, back to the second question you raised, and you are you are spot on, that many of us run our self-team. When we started Mayor Farm, let me give you our personal experience. We were only, and thank God you understood when we went, you took me to Dr. Dutton those days that we went to buy birds from him. We were only concerned about rearing birds and distribution. We never wanted to do feed mill. We never wanted to do any other thing. But feed constitutes 70% of your cost. So in a particular year where I won't mention their names, 2 big companies that were supplying us feeds every week. The first one reduced quality, and we started getting bad, low production. The second one did not supply because there was scarcity of soya. So we were held to ransom. We couldn't feed our birds, we didn't have soya. The ones that were still supplying, they couldn't supply, they didn't supply good quality. Because when we took that same product to their own lab to test, we didn't label it as their own product. They gave it a bad result, not knowing that it came from their own feed mill. So what did we have to do? We had to invest tens of millions of naira into feed milling. So it's not as if the farmer wants to do everything, but because there are no controls, government has failed. In other countries, you either do feed milling, or you either do rearing, or you either do this or that. But because there is no governance, there is no regulation, even the birds you buy, you find out that you buy birds today, 60% of them dies within 10 days. What account do you put that into? So that's why you see everybody wanting to control the whole value chain. And as I told you, when we started the fish business, it wasn't because we were hungry to get funds from fish business. We were paying to throw away offers. And the cost of throwing offers was increasing day by day. So what can we do to reduce this cost? And that was why the fish business came in. And from the fish business to vegetable does not cost many things apart from the seeds. And it's just that we can continue to maximize output and make sure that we are profitable. Because even in Agric, what I've found out over the years is that a mono product will not survive in Nigeria, because Nigeria is fraught with a lot of instabilities, either in prices of input or prices of output. And so if you have a mono product and you will have loans to pay banks, and there's a fall in price or rise in increase of cost, the bank doesn't want to know whether you have that product. They want you to pay their loans as when due. So you fall back on another product that is more stable at that period and be able to satisfy your loans. I hope I answered that question.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much, Mr. Ogundein. I'd like to ask this question and then we close. And please don't forget, we have just a couple of minutes to have, what we call the after party, in which you can reach out to friends, and connect, because we think this platform should offer that opportunity. Now, there's a trend of there's a new trend of investing in Agric without owning a firm. What's your opinion? And do you think it's something that is sustainable? This is running on technology. You know, you have a piece of investment without owning a firm. You know, for those who are interested in investing in agriculture without dirtying their hands. What's your opinion about this? Is it sustainable? Is it something that you encourage people to go into, or you will want to go into? That will be my last question. And then, please, we'll be glad, you know, to have your questions as well as comments, so that when I'm talking to participants, now when we come to the second part of this is just a first part, and this is quite very engaging. I must thank Mr. Yemi Ogundein for this. So can you look at that? And then there's also a question from Mr. Yemi. Other risks faced by agripreneurs: raw material supply risk, raw material quality control. You probably want to make a couple of comments on that, and then we can draw this to a close, and then we can then have after party moment. Thank you.
Okay, there are two questions I'd like to answer before I answer your question. Somebody has asked me, where do you see your business in 5 years, and the rest of them? And would you like to expand the business? Would you do this business all over again? If I had the opportunity to do it all over again, I would do it a different way. And that's the truth about it. And for Mayor Farms, from day one, we never plan to own this business 100% on our own. And that is why you will find that Mr. Elewase mentioned Mr. Godioki as our chairman. What we brought into the business is corporate governance, accountability. And Mayor Farms stands for the name of 5 persons. And that is Mayowa, that's my wife. Hamid, that's my partner. Myself, Yemi. Then Olubumi, that's my partner's wife. And R, the rest of the world. And that includes everybody on this platform. And that's what Mayor Farm stands for. And we're going somewhere, and we will get there. And the truth is that I expect that in the next 10 years, I should not be in management of this business. We should have grown to that extent. And the funding you need depends on the needs available. And I'm not, funding is very important that you get it at the right pricing in the right way. So that's on that. Second question. Regarding this issue of 5%, 10%, 20%, I just want to encourage people to be very careful, be very circumspect. I do not know anybody that would do agribusiness on a long term and will be giving returns of 30%, 25%. I have done it. I'm a financial strategist. I know these numbers. It's not sustainable. Except you are doing it on a short term for working capital purposes only, not for asset acquisition, because you can't get, the numbers do not add up. When I process broilers, for instance, if I get a 2 kg broiler, which is the average weight we get, 33% of that, 0.67%, 67% of it is what I get as meat. The rest is waste. So when you are getting just about 70%, let's round it up, 70% as value and 30% as waste, how do you fund an interest rate of 30% or much more than that? So if you do the numbers very well, you find out that it doesn't add up. But if it's on a long-term basis, it must be single-digit interest rates. But if you just want to do your short-term basis, just buy materials 2-3 days, 1 week, 2 weeks, you can excuse that, because that is not because you are going to be profitable, but because it's essential for you to have those funds. But when it comes to a long-term basis, I don't know how you're going to sustain 30% or 40%. Then the final question on the chat room, the risk, raw material risk. Yes, there are raw material risk. And one of the things we've done for major farms is that as small as we are, we don't keep a veterinary doctor on our farm. Veterinary services, I'm not a veterinary doctor, even though I know a lot about veterinary diseases, I know a lot about agriculture or poultry. That business is outsourced to a particular company. So the company comes in every week, they take water samples, they take feed samples, they take everything. When we get our maize, we maybe maize in trailers, soya beans in trailers, we take it out for test. And for maize, we do 2 particular tests. Aflatoxin test, which is a very important test for us, and moisture content test. That's a very important test for us for maize. If it meets our requirement, then we can use that maize. If it doesn't meet our requirement, we won't use that maize. For soya beans, the most important test for us is the cook test, because the cook test tells whether the soya beans is useful or not useful. So if you can do some minimal tests, especially for soya beans is about 30%, about 30%, means about 60%. So you can get those 2 parameters right, then you are sure that you have other things right in the feed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yemi Ogundein, agripreneur, businessman, financial expert. Let me ask you a personal question. How has finance prepared you for this role, your background in finance? There are people here on this platform who don't have your kind of background. Can you say it's because you've been in the financial services industry, you've worked in about 5 banks, close to about 11 years or thereabout. I know this must have helped. Are you saying the rest of us who have not had this experience are not likely going to make it? That would be my last question, and then I'd like to celebrate a couple of people on this platform, especially those who are new. Assam, I want to welcome you. Mr. Oyegunwa's birthday was yesterday. Congratulations. Mr. Yinka Adetono, welcome. And just take that question, and then we just have about 5 minutes of interaction, the after party moment, and then we can bring this to a close. Thank you for joining us for an exciting time. Yes.
Okay, sir. So my background in finance has been most useful for me in trying to prepare pitches, trying to pitch my business to investors or to financiers and the rest of them. However, I've said you cannot know everything. Just like imagine, I'm not a pharmacist, neither am I a poultry, am I a veterinary doctor. I have to outsource it. So if you are not versed in finance, there are people who understand finance, especially agri-finance, and you can outsource your financing aspect to it. Even for me that I know finance, I still subject my financial knowledge to auditing and see, okay, look, have we done it right? Do we need to do more in this level? Do we need to do more in that level? So financing background, very, very useful, very, very useful. That saved me a lot of cost. Maybe I want to prepare a pitch deck that I will have paid about $1 million, 1.2 million. I do it myself and I present it very well. So it's cost saving for me, and it allows me to know the facts behind the figure, because every day we have a software we use for all our inputs. Everything, including how many eggs we produce, what volume of feed we feed, I've inputted that software, and it brings out results for us. So with that result, we're able to take decisions per time, and so we're able to cut away losses or risk, as it were. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we've come to the end of today's episode. And I'd like to say a huge thank you for Mr. Yemi Ogundein on behalf of every one of us. I'd like to thank all our participants, Mr. Abraham Akindele, Lawrence Meokwaria. Mr. Kendi Lansing, thank you very much for your intervention, always robust intervention. Mr. Olayinka Odutola, Dr. Olunranti Adedayo. I think we can, we can just interact for a couple of minutes, and we bring this again, this robust engagement and knowledge feast into intellectual fecundity, into an end, and also to tell you to watch out for next week when we're going to come your way again with another interesting guest and another exciting topic on business sustainability. Thank you. Please, you can reach out. You can. Dele Agunloye, thank you for coming. Power Magnet, you're welcome. Mrs. Jetbankole, Madam, it's quite Modupelu, Ayotunde Ojo, Idowala, thank you very much. We can just take the next 5 minutes or so to interact, and then we can close this edition for the day. Thank you. Thank you very much. Once again, Mr. Ogundein, a big thank you.
Thank you very much for having
me. The second time. Mr. Buki Oluyemi, I want to say a huge thank you to my colleagues who work tirelessly every week to make this happen. Iko, Ogundein, Muyiwa Alabi, Buki Oluyemi, and many others. Thank you for being and for making this intellectual feast and a time of learning, a time of growing, a time of leaping every Saturday. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Yemi Ogundein. God bless you.
Thank you, Mommy. I'm grateful.
I was able to get grasp when I came on board. It was really very useful. Yes.
Thank you,
Mr. Pastor Tunde Ojo. Well done, well done for this opportunity that given all of us. God bless you.
Thank you, Mommy.
Thank you.
Pastor Tunde Ojo, thank you very much for this platform. I look forward to it every week.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pastor. Mr. Ogundein,
thank you, sir.
A very beautiful presentation.
Thank you.
I actually sent a chat. I missed that part because I have colleagues here who had invested at one point or the other as a distant investor to the agriculture. I have actually maintained a space on that because I don't know how profitable it will. So I know that this is not the most appropriate time to ask that question. Please, you may wish to provide answers later, perhaps through Pastor.
I will send my email address. You can just.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
God bless you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Aderibe.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a nice weekend.
Thank you so much.
Reverend Victor Hassan, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
This is Mayowa Ogundein. That is the wife of our guest. We appreciate you for joining us.
Thank you, Yemi. God bless you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Yemi, for this inspiring topic. And I think you have inspired us in a number of ways.
Thank you very much.
I just want to ask a question or just a request, really. So you mentioned something around the fact that you've been preparing very good accounts of your farm. And is it possible you just, will you be able to share some data with me just for me to be able to understand how your farm has grown in terms of numbers? Because
I've sent my email address and my phone number, so you can talk to me privately so that you don't problem.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Sorry, my name is Abraham. Mr. Ogundein, please, I want to make similar request, please. So if you can have your number, I would like to talk to you.
My number is there and my email address is there, sir, on the chat.
All right, God bless you.
Okay, thank you very much, Associate Professor Olukemi Lawansi. Thank you for always being there with us. Thank you, Yomi Martins. Please, Mr. Adekunle Shembore, Reverend Victor Akan, Dr. Lawrence Imiofa. If I don't mention your name, Afolabi Olubola, thank you very much. Please forgive me. I want to thank you for keeping this date with us, spending your time, your afternoon, essential, very valuable time. This distinguished, class of people. We really, 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 really value you. Until we come your way again next week, this has been Touchstone Business Sustainability.
Hello, Mr. Pastor Tunde Ojo.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
God bless you all. Thank you. Thank you.
Pastor, God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yemi Ogundein.
Sir.
God bless you.
I'm loyal, sir.
It's nice listening to you.
Thank
honestly,
you, Pastor.
Great. And God bless you one more.
Thank you. Sustainability.
Thank you.
Bless you.
Bye for now.
More grace to you.
Thank you, ma.
Bye for now. Have a lovely weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye.